Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Fazbear Entertainment would like you to put your hands together for the one, the only, Freddy Fazbear.
Rewritten! Content warning. This video is not made for kids. It contains fictional depictions of mental illness, fictional violence, and fictional abuse. The fictional characters in this story are heavily afflicted by the things that I have spelled out to you, and some of the inner monologue seems to suggest that they should be getting hurt like this, but that is absolutely not the case. Me portraying this abuse or mental illness is meant to show the audience how the illness or abuse feels inside of the mind of the afflicted person, so they can sympathize and maybe stop themselves from following a similar pattern in the future. Be careful if you are easily triggered. You're most likely about to enter the mind of someone who is heavily afflicted by illness and abuse. Viewer discretion is advised. But, hey, where are you going? Chica completely ignored her manager's question, pushing her way out of the doors that led from her party rooms to the main lobby. Two uniformed guards nearly trampled her, not pausing to look back as they dashed their way around the pit where DJ's tunnels were kept. Freddy was already outside, his back clearly visible above the sea of curious onlookers, everyone's head turned as one towards Roxy's area. Worry overcame Chica, and she almost completely forgot about whatever she had been doing before. She rushed across the lobby, mindful not to step on any of the little ones, joining Freddy and asking, "What happened? Is she okay?" A grim look had taken a hold of Freddy's face, sustaining itself as he tried and failed to find a space in the crowd to sneak past. I think... "Hey, I said I didn't want to go that way!" A muffled voice whined from inside of Freddy. Freddy sighed, opening up his writing compartment and setting down a little girl. Sorry, but you need to go back to your mother. I'll be able to give you another ride later if you want." The girl began to loudly protest, but soon grew frightened of what was going on outside of Freddy, her mother sweeping her up and pulling her back before she caused even more problems for them. I think Roxy passed out. That's what I'm hearing people saying," Freddy whispered, causing doom to plummet inside of her. Chica had been worried that Roxy hadn't gotten as much sleep as she had told her she did, but she hadn't known that it had been this serious. Shame began to crackle through her like mold on stale bread. She knew that Roxy was doing too much. She knew that she was going to work herself too hard. Why didn't she do something? Why didn't she get her to stop? A group of familiar boys practically shoved their way past Chica, giggling as they bounced up and down to try and see over the shoulders of concerned parents. Yo, is this for real? This is crazy! It took Chica less than 2 seconds to recognize who they were. Daniel and his friends. Roxy vented to her about them a lot, letting her know exactly how they treated her. Anger sparked inside of Chica from how excited they looked at this new drama, driving her to put her hand on the closest one's shoulder, asking, "Where are your parents?" The boy just smacked her hand off, not even bothering to look back at her. "Screw off, I'm trying to see!" Chica gaped down at him, trying to reorient herself into a response, but was interrupted. "Okay, everyone, back off!" The booming voice of a guard rose above the crowd's murmurs. The guards were forming a sort of barrier to keep everyone back, allowing a few technicians to slip into Roxy's area unbothered. "The Roxanne animatronic just had a malfunction. She'll be out of order for the rest of the day." The crowd groaned in disappointment. A few people began to flake away, while other more curious ones tried to get a better look past the guards. Something similar to this had happened this morning, but with Monty. Chica had never gotten the chance to see what had actually gone down, and her manager just brushed it off like it wasn't any of her concern. But just because Monty was currently working as usual again, that didn't mean that Roxy would be too. Chica wanted to sneak around the edge of the crowd to get past the guards, but she quickly realized that there was no way for her to get to Roxy and check on her anyway, even if the guards weren't stationed in the way. The new program dictated that they weren't allowed to enter each other's areas, of course. Hey, I said, what are you doing? Chica flinched at the nasally voice of her manager, lowering her head as she turned around to face her. Harper was watching her under eyelids layered with overwhelming pink makeup, wearing her usual irritated scowl. I was just checking on what was going on, Chica stammered, returning to Harper's side. Well, you should be checking on the cake. You left it in the oven, Harper snapped back, her tone like popping grease. Chica had the timer in the top right corner of her vision, the little digital numbers letting her know that she still had 2 minutes left, but she just dropped the argument because she didn't want to waste any more energy talking with her manager. Chica passed by Freddie and Monroe, who were having a similar scolding session about wasting time over here and not keeping up with the kids he was monitoring. Chica slowed down at the entrance to her party rooms, the winged decorations around the doorframe not making the place any more welcoming to her. For any other kid, this would be a dream come true, a place to be given a good birthday meal that they would cherish for the rest of their year. But for Chica, it was a torture chamber. Come on, hurry up, Harper demanded, and Chica quickly followed her inside. Several children rushed past her, darting between the various tables and getting dangerously close to tripping up their aunts and uncles. Bright, colorful balloons bobbed around the ceiling, shimmering decorations strung from the sparkling bulbs like fairy lights. Each occupied table was dressed in customized tablecloths, patterns of puppies or dragons or flowers placed accordingly to each child's birthday theme. Families gossiped with each other over dyed paper plates, the room filled with bubbling conversations that all melded together into one singing cloud. Chica froze up as her attention was drawn to the last and most important detail of the party rooms. The food. Sizzling pepperoni pizza was split between friends, gooey melted cheese stringing between each slice like molten gold. Perfectly browned hot dogs were nestled within fluffy white buns, layered in trails of shining ketchup, globs of the rich condiments dripping off of the sides and pooling on paper plates every time a child took a bite. Hunks of soft birthday cake were passed around to dozens of partygoers, covered in layers of frothing, sugary icing that sparkled like fresh snow beneath the fluorescent glow of the ceiling's light fixtures. Powerful hunger swept back in, like a butcher knife being dug and twisted right into her gut. Chica kept her gaze firmly on the floor, only seeing the edge of people's shoes and a few piles of unopened presents. Still, that didn't block out the wonderful smells, each mouth-watering ingredient tempting her while she was forced to say no to each and every one of them. The new rules had been clear. She was not allowed to eat during the day anymore. She knew what would happen. She knew that she would eat too much, like a disgusting, greedy pig. Chica would have to wait until nighttime and fill her mouth with the taste of garbage instead. But no amount of physical self-control stopped the pain inside of her as she bustled past the various joyful tables and pushed her way through the flapping doors of her kitchen. Harper was already inside the kitchen, leaning back against a wall and examining her acrylic turquoise-colored fingernails. They mixed with the lime green of her infinity scarf, the dark blues of her sparkly blouse, contrasting with the golden bracelets hanging from her wrists. For whatever reason, Harper always dressed fancier than the clothing that even the glam rock-themed animatronics were required to wear. Harper raised a plucked eyebrow at the oven. There's still 20 seconds, Chica mumbled. Well, be ready then, Harper said. Chica paced around the island of the kitchen, counting down, trying to prepare herself for when she would be forced to interact directly with food. She just had to wait. Just wait until nighttime. Don't be selfish. Be civilized. Keep yourself together. The timer dinged. Chica rubbed her closed eyelids, taking in a full breath and then holding it intently. She opened the oven, using the mitts to take out the new birthday cake, trying not to look at the freshly risen vanilla base. She placed it on the cooling rack, forcing her eyes up at the ceiling, the fluorescent lights humming like a migraine above her. Harper was watching. She could feel her gaze on her as clearly as a hot stove. Just waiting for her to do it. Just waiting to have an excuse to blow up. Chica guided herself away from the cake, nudging the kitchen's door open and calling, Okay, Elijah, your cake is ready to be decorated. A cheer was thrown up from one of the tables, a little boy and a handful of his friends pushing their way into the kitchen with her, making Harper step back with a curl to her nostrils. Now don't touch anything, it's still very hot, Chica cautioned them as they stared around with wonder in their eyes at the ginormous kitchen. The kitchen wasn't large enough to fit her, and for some reason kids liked the feeling that they had shrunken down like they were in some sort of sci-fi movie. A smile crept over her beak. It's not like she didn't like decorating the cakes for the kids. She really loved this part, seeing their creativity run wild, satisfying all of their dreams of rainbow sprinkles and complicated star patterns and designs that fit their favorite TV show's characters. She just wished that she could eat the finished product with them again. Right now, all the customers had been told was that Chica's guest dining feature had a glitch and could not be utilized for the foreseeable future. Okay, so you said that you wanted buttercream icing? Chica asked, doing her best to keep the smile up despite the pain in her belly. Yeah, Elijah jumped up. Pink! Pink and yellow! Pink and yellow it is, Chica chirped, pulling up the stools so they could climb up and see the cake. Don't touch it, okay? The pan is still very hot. I know, Elijah giggled, eagerly watching Chica as she reached over to the bowl of icing and pulled up the various dyes that she had in small glass bottles. As she began to mix half of the icing pink and the other yellow, adjusting it when the kids said to add more dye, the hunger inside of her began to grow like mildew. She was desperately pulling up the edges of her beak to try and keep the smile there, not wanting to ruin Elijah's special day, but it was starting to hurt so bad it was hard to keep from crying out. She just wanted a little bit, just a lick. She just wanted to taste something that wasn't rotting. But Harper was watching very, very closely. If she did anything, even taste testing, Harper would get so loud about it, she would start gossiping with the other people again and tell them all about how... Chica tried to swallow down her emotion, but had nothing else to distract herself with. She had to stay engaged with the kid. She had to follow his instructions and pour the icing and evenly layer it out over the cake. Elijah wanted the swirling pattern, which was luckily easy to do, but with her hands working on nothing but food, it made the starvation unbearable. She tried to run off of autopilot, but when she tried to disconnect from the moment and think of other things, her mind immediately latched onto Roxy. Was she okay? Fazbear Entertainment employees were always told not to break the magic, so no matter the severity of Roxy's condition, they wouldn't start announcing it to the customers. Last night, Chica had made her promise to get some sleep before reopening day, but she suspected that Roxy hadn't been entirely truthful. It was pretty easy to tell when Roxy was lying. She would always try a little bit too hard to look confident in herself, her tail lifting in a curled position that almost resembled a husky's. So why didn't Chica push further? Was it just because she was so worried about her own first day? She didn't want to believe that Roxy would lie to her? It's not like you don't lie to her, a nasty voice in her head began to say. She doesn't know about your problems either. Chica? The tiny squeak made her snap out of it, realizing that she had been staring down at the fully covered cake for a few seconds. Her false stomach was racked with pangs, but she had to smile through it for Elijah, telling him, Yeah, I was just trying to remember what sprinkles you wanted. Rainbow sprinkles, Elijah voted, forgetting the break in character. Elijah was only just turning 4, so luckily Chica didn't have to worry about him thinking too far into it. Elijah's vague childhood memories of her would only be about how good the cake tasted, not how weird she had always acted when presented with food. As she uncapped the plastic bottle, the tiny chips of sugar glimmered at her tauntingly. She tightened her dull talons on the counter, growing even more frustrated with herself. What was wrong with her? She was going to mess it up. She was going to make them take Bonnie away. She had to keep it together. She couldn't think about how hungry she was. She had to think of something else. What did those bullies say to Roxy? Chica knew that group of kids always came back here every week, but Roxy had recently stopped talking to her about whatever they did to her, as if she was embarrassed that she was letting it get to her in the first place. Chica knew enough to know that something was wrong, but she couldn't do anything about it. It was so frustrating, so endlessly frustrating. Her beak began to itch, the feeling spreading down the length of her fake tongue, making her quiver. She needed to eat something. She needed to distract herself from it, but she couldn't. She had to keep smiling for Elijah. She couldn't mess up. Harper would tell everyone how disgusting she is. Chica, that's a little too much, Elijah warned. Chica snatched the sprinkles back upright, alarm prickling up her legs. She had been dumping it out on the same spot for maybe a minute and a half. Oh, sorry, we could just spread it around. Chica washed her hands just to be safe, her claws grating against each other abrasively beneath the cool stream of water. She brushed the mountain of sprinkles so it was even all over the cake, the pain tripling as tiny bits of icing stuck to her fingertips. She couldn't eat. If she took one slice, just one tiny bite, she knew that it wouldn't be enough. She would start taking things out of the frozen storage. She would be devouring everything in sight, and then Harper would make her throw it up again in front of everyone. But she was so hungry. She was so hungry. It was just as strong as it had been when they were locked in their rooms for 5 days during the investigation. It had gotten so bad she had started picking out pieces of her old mattress to chew on. She couldn't give in. She had to be strong. Bonnie was counting on her. Oh, okay, is that it? Chica stammered out, forcing her beak into a strained grin. Oh, can we have some of those? Elijah pointed to one of the various jars of decorations that they had, each made of hardened icing. He was pointing out ones that were shaped like little teal-green sea turtles. She shook out a few of them, letting Elijah pick each individually and place them all over the cake, seeming determined to get as many as he could on every square inch of icing. Chica closed her eyes tightly, holding her breath again to try and take a break from the smell of food. Her stomach, it was hurting so bad. She bit down on her tongue, trying to get it to stop, but everything inside of her was just rising worse and worse. She wanted to chew, she wanted to swallow, she wanted to fill herself up until the pain went away. What was wrong with her? Why was she being so selfish? Harper would get so mad. Was Bonnie all right? What if they already decided to take him away after Roxy passed out? Was there anything Chica could do to fix that? Could she make it up to them? Or was it already too late? What if they scrapped Roxy? She still remembered what Roxy had told them while they were being held above the scrap dump. Even though Jeremy probably couldn't afford to replace her right now, that didn't mean that she wouldn't be replaced later once they got clear of the lawsuits. She wanted to forget. She wanted to stop thinking about it for just a second. Her eyes fixated on one of the turtle-shaped decorations. Ethan had discarded it after realizing that one of the fins was missing, and it was right there, practically jeering at her with its tiny black eyes, knowing how much pain she was in. She had to eat, she had to chew, she had to forget. Just a little bit, just enough to make the pain go away, just so she could remember what it's like to not be in a constant state of starvation. Without thinking, she swiped it off the counter and popped it into her beak. The action was not noticed by Elijah or his friends, but her body automatically tensed and froze when she remembered Harper standing behind her. The taste of the sugary candy had already dissolved over her tongue. The flavor swept away before she really got to enjoy it. And that was it. That was all it took. Her stomach began to practically scream at her, demanding more where that came from, so much more where that came from. She straightened up, trying to keep from keeling over, one of Elijah's friends giving her a confused look. She tried to replicate a smile, picking at her feathery arm warmers just to give herself something else to do. She couldn't do this. She needed more right now. She just wanted something to eat. She would take anything at this point, even a dead rat. Done! Elijah's exclamation jolted her out of her spiraling thoughts. The pain in her belly twisted and reared, but she struggled to keep her head above the flood water, grinning and giving him a quick thumbs up. Yeah, it looks great. Is that it? Candle! Elijah was already reaching to a packet nearby, and Chica helped him count out 4 of them, 4 for his 4th birthday, placing them around in a pattern that must have been artistic in a child's eyes. Don't let Elijah know. Keep smiling, keep it together. When the agonizing process was finally over, Chica took the cake, helping Elijah down, shakily making her way out to the edge of the kitchen. She was hit with the smells of dozens of different birthday meals, making her stumble just outside of the exit doors. Pizza and burgers and ice cream and cotton candy. Her trembling hands refused to keep steady, no matter how important it was to not drop the cake. It hurt. It hurt. Her stomach hurt so much she felt like she was going to pass out. She recovered as fast as she could manage, placing the new cake down at the table, bustling away before anyone could say anything to her. When she burst back into the safety of the kitchen, she immediately had to screech to a halt. Harper was planted there, her artificially blue eyes narrowed in suspicion. The kitchen doors flapped closed behind her, cutting off some of the excitement from outside. Chica couldn't move. She was just paralyzed there, taking in tiny sips of air, the hunger gnawing away at her sanity. "I saw what you did there," Harper said, her lip curled up in displeasure. "You know the rules. You know you're not allowed to steal food." Chica's beak lowered to her chest, her eyes squeezing shut. I'm sorry. It was just... He already touched it. I would have had to throw it away anyway, and I didn't want it to go to waste." She knew as well as Harper did that the excuse was feeble. Oh my god. They were going to scrap Bonnie, all because she ate a stupid turtle decoration. Panic only made the starvation worse, wild urges overcoming her, urges to eat, to fill and forget. "You're a nasty vulture, you know that?" Harper snarled. "You're going to get me fired! Don't you care about that? Oh, of course you don't. All that you care about is stuffing your face with shit that isn't yours, like some stupid, whining, disgusting, slop-eating little freak!" "Please," Chica begged, trying to keep her voice down. "I'm sorry, it won't happen again. Please don't take him." Harper raised the remote, gesturing for Chica to get further away from the door. "Look, you want Jeremy to do this, or me?" "You," she cracked out, her chest thudding with dread. But please, I'm sorry. I won't do it again. Please don't tell Jeremy, please. Bonnie doesn't deserve to go back down there for this." Harper made a sharp wave with her hand to silence her, the acrylic nails slicing through the air like knives. "Just shut up before I add any more volts to this." Despair plummeted through her, but she could do nothing but lie down on the floor and wait as her manager pressed the button. It was happening again. It was all happening again. Time wasn't moving forward anymore. The four walls stayed where they were, the children's gifts standing still, the door refusing to budge. The buzzing of the fluorescent lights, the smell of his own rust, his haggard breathing, those were the only signs of life down here. Bonnie would be stuck here forever and ever and ever, and even after that, lying here in a pile of rust, vividly aware of every second that passed, suffering in this unbearable loneliness. He was never going to see his family again. He was never going to hear their voices again. He was never going to get out of here. This room was now his eternal prison, and it was never going to end. Bonnie had collapsed in a corner by now, unable to stand anymore from the panic, tearing fibers out of his ears, a horrible itching need driving him on, chasing the pain. He had to escape. He had to feel something, anything at all. Feeling nothing, lying here forever in this state of purgatory, was so much worse. Bonnie bit at his arms, crooked teeth scraping away at the metal dents, hooked talons ripping at his ears like they were wet newspapers. And still, nothing changed. He was trapped. He was never getting out of here. He would be here for the rest of his miserable life, the empty nothingness of his surroundings dragging on and on, never ending. It would all be the same every single hour of every single day. Nothing would change about this room. He would stay trapped like a little slimy rat, and no matter how much he screamed, nothing would change. Bonnie was stuck like that in a timeless, frozen void for so long, he completely lost his sense of self. He had become the surrounding air in the room, watching himself panic and plead and cry, watching as nothing changed, nothing at all, knowing that he would keep staring at nothing, and nothing would ever do anything again, like he was the only living being left in the entire universe. He couldn't do this again, not again. But it wasn't exactly like it was in the dump. This time he could move. He could do something about it. He could end the pain. Bonnie stood up and began to ram his head into the wall as hard as he could. Woo! Okay, so if you want to help me out, then stop right now and go down into the... I don't know what it would be called, but the section beneath the video, I guess, and like the video and comment about your favorite part. It only takes a few seconds and not very much effort from you, and it really, really helps me out in the long run. So if you want to help me out and get this video like out to other people with the algorithm, then take the time to do all of that stuff. It would really, really help me out, and I would really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so part 4 of chapter 31. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. Part 4 of chapter 31 is also going to be out next Sunday, and then we'll finally be done with chapter 31 and be able to move on. So just look out for the next episode next Sunday, just like this time, pretty much at the same time of the day. And, yeah, that's all I had to say, really. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for getting to this part. Remember to support me by doing the liking stuff and all the commenting stuff. Even something really simple like good video still helps me out. So I would really appreciate it. Thank you. Bye. That's all I had to say. Bye. Thank you. I love you guys.